Con Stathopoulos and Josh Phegan come together in an incredible podcast, Grow, Scale, Master.
An energetic approach to drive progress, master skills, build strengths and put the strategy back into rapid business and personal success.
Backed by real-world experience in rapid scaling to playing the long-term game of business, it's the story of all the lessons learned on the journey to mastery.
Be inspired, renew your energy and chase the future with Grow, Scale, Master.
Con, today we're going to talk about the power of brand.
Okay.
What is brand?
Ooh. Well, isn't brand what they say about you when you're not there?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean,
so what is a brand?
You can look at...
Have you joined any brands?
Yes.
Like are there particular...
CrossFit.
Right.
Yeah. McGrath.
Yeah.
That's a brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a certain type of
Josh Phegan?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's a great brand.
Is it like T-shirts that you buy or shoes that you might wear for your runners?
It's something that connects someone to a lifestyle, a thought, a culture, a value piece. It's yes, absolutely.
Story.
It's a story. Yes, it's a story. Geez, you're more articulate than me.
So think about this though. It's about like brands, right? So I'm going to take you back to the late 80s, early 90s.
Yes.
We're traveling as little kids with mum and dad.
I was a teenager.
And mum and dad said to us, hey, if you need to go to the bathroom, let us know. We'll go to McDonald's.
Correct.
So I figured
I still do that.
I could go to McDonald's like 5 times a day.
You can go whenever you want. No, you can.
But what it was is that literally back then is that one of the values that Macca's actually had was cleanliness.
Correct.
And so that's why. And so we're there, and then we're buying cookies.
Yeah,
and then we're there, and then we're buying a soft serve because mum and dad would
Remember
feel
when
guilty.
they did the cookies in the little box?
Oh no, pre my time.
Okay.
But the basic idea is that what I want you to think about.
I get it.
So what is a brand? So brand is actually like it's safety. And brand is also to like a representation of who you are. And
Correct.
brand is also to a representation of a moment that maybe you've arrived in life.
Yes.
So this is interesting when you think about...
It is a story. You're absolutely right. It's a story, right?
So if you think about... Let's have a look at brands.
Because the burgers could be better at Hungry Jack's.
That's true.
Well, if you eat burgers, but also like I'm just thinking back to what you said about the safety and the brand
What's the connection?
Well, the connection is like for my mum, she was always a Coles, not a Woolies.
Yes.
And that's because she thought that the food was fresher and it had more options and it was opened later.
Which then meant that Woolworths went to the fresh food people.
Exactly.
And so this is interesting about like positioning in brand.
Yes.
So if you say, for example, Louis Vuitton, high-end, expensive, all that sort of stuff. Then you've then got David Jones, probably like really nice, but like mid-range.
Yeah.
And then the bottom of that is then like the reject shop.
Yep.
Like the interesting conversation is that that's actually a position.
Yes.
So when you start to go to think about it, the most important foundational conversation is that when you think about brand, where are you positioning as a brand?
Yes.
Now, this is down to, if you think about what high-end retailers do, is it, and anything particularly with high-end fashion, they're in a position that they're saying, okay, we're going to put a security guard outside to say to you that what's inside must be valuable.
Correct.
Then we're going to make you line up.
Correct.
So what's inside must be of more value.
Well, people want it.
And then you then get your own client advisor.
When you walk in.
Who then gives you a glass of champagne.
Yes.
So then you look at the handbag
I've
or you look at the
I've
aftershave.
never experienced that. I don't know where you shop, mate, but mate, when I go to, Uniqlo or whatever, I know exactly what you're saying.
So now what ends up happening is that now you actually buy the item. And then the next conversation that then happens is that then they put that in a box and put that with a bow and put that in some wrapping and put that in another box. And then you then take that home. And people actually, if you type into YouTube unboxing, they actually film themselves unboxing things. And Apple talk about Apple Air.
Yes, correct.
That when I've
heard this.
Yeah, when you open the packaging.
It's the suction.
And the way that actually...
Correct.
And people actually keep the Apple box.
Yes.
When they buy an iPad or a laptop or something, right? So this is actually about like really thinking through that if you think about it, do people pay more for a particular brand?
Absolutely they do.
Now, here's a brand story. There's lots of different travel bags that you can buy.
Yeah.
You can buy July, you can buy Samsonite, you can buy Rimowa.
Antler.
Now, you can do all of those.
Yeah.
And I can tell you every day of the week that I have joined the brand of Rimowa.
Yes.
And a lot of people say, but like, why? It's an expensive suitcase. I don't buy the steel case ones. I buy the polycarbonate ones. People go, why do you buy those? I'm like, well, when I had a Samsonite, my experience is that every 3 months it would break and I'd have to go back and buy a new one.
Yep.
Now, I'm a different traveller. I'm doing, 120 flights a year and lots of different stuff.
Yeah.
And so, like, off the back of that, it's really got to make it. And I would find that they would get about 30 to 40 flights and then they'd break. But with Rimowa, I can get to 2.5 years worth of flights out of one suitcase
Before you have any damage.
before I have any damage.
Wow.
And I can go into a remoire and they'll replace the wheels and change things and fix the chassis and like do all of those things internally.
Right.
But I've joined that brand.
Yeah.
Now, here's the interesting thing. When I go to a city, for example, like I went to Tokyo over Christmas, I typed in remoire to see where their stores were, because where their stores are where all the good shops are.
Correct.
That's now how I travel.
Yes.
Is to find out where the pockets of enclaves of shopping are.
Brand association.
So that brand would be there.
That's right.
And so this is a really interesting thing when you start to think about it. Okay, people join brands. So when you think about, okay, great, the positioning of branding really matters. So that, okay, great, can I be a good David Jones that can represent the best properties in each price range?
Correct.
So now I'm going to look at the best studio, the best one better, the best two better, the best 5-bedroom house, whatever. But I'm now thinking about that. And so this is interesting, that really what you've got to realize is that the brand actually therefore must deliver certain service experiences.
Yes.
How I get a call, how I get it. So if you go into a high-end soap retailer in Australia called Aesop, probably a day or two later, I'll send you this beautiful email and say, how was your experience? What can we learn about how we can serve you better? And interestingly enough, Aesop actually have a global database that a lot of people aren't aware of. And so I tell this story where, I went down to the one here in Balmain and I was like, oh yeah, hey guys, and got some stuff and whatever. And then initially I was going to London and I stopped off in Dubai and I thought, oh geez, I forgot it's hot, I need to get some sunscreen. I'm like, there's an Aesop in the mall, I'll go there. So I went to the Aesop and said, I can get some sunscreen. I said, we noticed you're here from Australia, how was the flight? And I said, the flight was good. Yeah, thanks very much. I said, where are you going? I said, I'm heading to London. I said, enjoy that. When I was in London, I went to go and see one of my clients, Spencer Lawrence. I thought, I'll buy him some Aesop because it's an Australian product at the time.
Yeah.
So I bought him some Aesop to say, hey, thanks very much for the friendship and all that over the years. And I went into the store and the lady was like, how was Dubai? And so when we're talking about client profiling and what they're actually doing in terms of smarts about what they've done in terms of their CRM system, it was absolutely phenomenal.
Do you know that same Aesop here in Balmain? Because I lived in Balmain next to you, really.
Yes.
They remember me by name. And the last time I was in there, I bought some incense and I also bought one of their perfumes.
Yes.
And the lady goes, Con, I know last time you bought that and this smell, here's a similar smell scent that's just been released and here is a sample bottle for you to test and take it home.
Yeah, amazing, right?
It's incredible, right?
And so what you want to think about is that literally what these businesses are really good at doing in building brand is they're actually talking about service experiences.
Yes.
And those service experiences need to be mapped.
Mapped in what way? What do you mean?
So they need to be documented in order for services to be delivered.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So for consistent delivery of experience.
Right. So there I am. And some of you will know the book Cut to the Chase by Stuart Levine.
Yep.
Stuart came out, he spoke at Listen Negotiate for us circa 2017-18 from New York. And I didn't know that you couldn't ring authors. I just picked up the phone and rang Stuart and said, hey, you don't know me, I've read your book, I think it's great. I'm going to be in New York, would you be interested in catching up for lunch? He said, no one's ever rung me and asked that question, so sure.
Yeah.
So he invited me and he's a part of a really interesting business group, and off the back of that, we were able to get into some amazing building that I'd never be able to get into in my life. And he texted me that morning, he said, you need a tie. And I was like, okay, so I'm in the middle of New York, it's snowing, it was like April at the time. I'm like, I don't have a tie, I haven't worn one for years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, where do I get a tie at last minute? And I don't really know stuff. And so I'm walking along and I'm like, there's a Louis Vuitton sign. Look, it's going to be expensive. At worst, I buy one. I've got it forever. It'll be okay. And I walk in, and as I go in, the doors are locked. It's like 5 minutes to 11 a.m. I'm like, okay, great. I'm just going to wait. Anyway, I'm just waiting, and I'm watching. And as I look inside of the store, I see this lady walking around with this big iPad, and she's taking photos of everything. I thought, okay, this is interesting. So then when they open the door, I go in and I buy just a standard black tie for a white shirt and blue suit, fine. And I said to her, why do you take photos of everything? She said, it's a requirement of head office that every day, every display in every Louis Vuitton store has to have a photo taken, and all those photos need to be sent to head office.
Quality assurance.
And at any point, your location could be randomly checked.
Wow.
And if you're randomly checked and you don't meet standards, you don't get supply of limited edition items to come into your store.
Right.
So therefore, if you want to offer extra special limited editions to your high-end spenders.
Yeah.
And I was like blown away. So then we end up at Airbnb in Seattle. San Fran. And so we're over at Airbnb and I'm like telling them, so they said, oh, Josh, you're here. And I'm like, yeah. And I wrote about this in Firms of the Future. They said, oh, what do you mean? I said, I'm here to come do this thing. So your house in Sydney, what's it doing right now? I said, it's empty at the moment. So why isn't it on Airbnb? I'm like, oh, look, insurance. I got personal effects in there. I don't really want randoms living in the house. I'm worried about parties. I've got nice stuff. And they're like, okay, great. So now you're staying in New York, staying in San Fran. I said, yeah. Are you at a hotel? I'm like, yeah. Why aren't you at an Airbnb? Oh, checked in late. I'm in a position that I want someone just quickly to eat dinner. I want something quickly from the minibar.
Yeah.
I'm in a position I want a gym downstairs. I don't really know where to go, all of that. And they're like, okay, great. So now let's go and have a look at something. And then they pulled up in this PowerPoint those customer moments mapped. Right. So then what they then do is they then show you then how they then build that into the customer experience. So you're now going to be taking this Airbnb. This is how you get the keys. Do you need us to buy any of these grocery items to put in the fridge for you?
They've got a home gym.
Here are the experiences of where the gym is.
Wow.
This is where the location. And so literally they mapped out all those customer experiences to actually get that right.
Wow.
So now throw me to Australian real estate branding. And when someone says, hey, I'm going to be this particular franchise or I'm going to be this particular independent, do you think that Australian real estate agents are at that point that have we actually really got what brand is?
No.
When you start to think about why...
No, not to the similar level there of the
sophistication's amazing,
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly right. It certainly is.
And so this is an interesting conversation because does that brand have pricing power?
Well, yeah, it does, because if you have a look at the most successful agents in most markets, they've got either dominant market share, highest average sale price, lowest days on market, they've got beautiful marketing.
Sure.
And that does translate into more listings, hopefully at the same or a higher fee than the rest of the market, because people want to work with that agent. So yes, it does.
So I'm seeing a proliferation of lots and lots of different car brands in Australia all of a sudden.
Of course,
but
and there's going to be more.
Like brands I've never seen or heard of before.
Capra, BYDs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and you're seeing all of this stuff and I'm like, where does it, do you think that the car industry's in trouble on this? That literally that people because everyone's got airbags and everyone's got brakes and and everyone's got tech that we've now got to the point of commoditization.
Yes.
That literally it's just a car and literally it means that the premium end of that car being maybe Range Rover or Rolls Royce or some of those things will demand the premium, but the middle road will just be flooded with lots of options.
Correct, 100%, absolutely. I mean, what's his name? Jeff Bezos just released the Slate car in the US, which is $20,000 for a utility vehicle, and you can choose your own adventure. You can add the features, literally clip things on.
Yes.
So they've already seen that. I totally agree. So I know where you're going with this. You're going with, are you going to be in the middle market when it comes to brand and experience, or are you going to elevate the experience and become a brand in your market that people are prepared to work with and pay for more?
And then here's the key thing, is that literally I'm not talking about, gold foil.
No.
What I'm actually saying is that, okay, before I go to a listing presentation, there's a calendar invite.
Correct.
Here's a beautiful written email.
Correct.
Here is the pre-survey SMS. Then when I get there, I go through the client briefing form. I have the one pager on what to do if you're selling it as a part of a job relocation. I then directly, when I walk out, I have a follow-up menu and a series of things that we follow to tighten consumer experience.
I totally agree, mate.
So then now go and help me here, because we've now got the evolution of what I go to call agent sub-brands, right? And a really good example of that is that Compass in America built these sub-brands where they had the agent logos.
Yeah, team logos and whatnot.
Yep. And then we've seen brands, for example, like a Place up in Brisbane, have done co-agent brands.
Yes.
So it's like Place and Aaron Woolard as an example.
Yes.
And so they're building that out on their email templates, and they have mechanisms of sections where that might appear, like on the front of videos and some of that other stuff. Doormats, for example, when you're walking into a property, to allow agents to have that ability to be able to have a sub-brand within the master brand. What are your thoughts when you start to think about, about understanding about these branded experiences and how much the real estate industry could really do with this to actually understand, because I get agents who, or an owner who rings me and goes, so we're trying to work out what we should do with the brand. Should we stay in our franchise group? Should we change franchise group? Should I be an independent? And often a lot of those questions have got nothing to do with actually understanding where they want to be positioned in that marketplace. about the type of customers they want to serve, the type of fees they want to charge, the type of volume that they actually want to do. And it tends to be that I'm just going to take the brand that's left because no one else has got this brand in this marketplace.
Yeah, I think it's about a discipline thing, mate, too, in terms of like you have the ability to choose your own adventure. There's businesses in Australia that I know of that won't list a property under $1.5 million.
Sure.
Right? So they only do $1.5 million or more. And I think what these businesses have made it very clear is these are the values, these are our principles, and this is our process, and we're not going to deviate from that. We would rather be one-to-one than one-to-many, right? So I look at it and I go, our ability to be able to create super brands, whether it's the agent's personal brand, the franchise, the independent boutique or whatever, it's all about experience. That's all it is. Why does the smallest restaurant end up being the 2-hatted, 3-hatted restaurant, or that little hawker restaurant in Singapore that has 2 hats?
Yes.
It's in a food market.
Yeah.
It's not because it's sophisticated, it's because it's reliable. It delivers a brand experience, whether that's the taste, the actual experience, whatever it might be. We have so much to learn from that, right? And the valuation, and I'm not talking about exit valuations, I'm talking about the valuation of what that relates to in terms of market penetration, share, and share of voice, share of listings is massive.
Experiences that rapidly shaped you.
I'm just a really big one for taking notes in meetings and when I'm with someone one-to-one, because I think it's a fantastic way to build empathy.
Yeah.
I'm also worried that there's a future generation that believe that the AI edition of note-taking and taking photos with your phone is somehow effective for memory retention.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And I think it also demonstrates to you when you are writing notes down. I always ask for the permission, do you mind if I can take some notes?
Yes.
And simply because I want to acknowledge that I'm listening, I'm actively listening, so I can refer back and play it back to them. Mate, one experience that rapidly is changing my view, I was with David Mills, the principal of the Northern Mills. He stayed over
got a
my
great
house.
business. Oh, wow.
Got a great business. He stayed over, not last night, the night before, and we had a training session. Anyway, I'm driving him back to the airport and he said to me, he goes, mate, what's one of the best restaurants you've ever been to? What's the best restaurant in Sydney? And I said, look, I just really like Margaret. I've been there with my friend Joshy. It's great food. It's simple. It's not too, over the top. And I said, what about you? And he said, Tetsuya's. I said, I never went. He goes, Con, listen to this. Got my wedding anniversary. I've already got it, I've got the matched wines thing that's going to happen. It's a perfect afternoon. We get there. We're seated at a great seat. And he goes, 2 courses in, my wife starts getting sick. And he's like, okay, you okay, honey? Do you want some water? Because I've been really looking forward to this, right? He's going to tell the story better than I. By the fourth course, the staff have realised that she's not well and have gone to the pharmacy and said, here are 2 options, Panadol and Nurofen. We're not quite sure what's happening, but we just want to make sure she's okay. By the 5th one, she had to get up and walk outside. He had to go back inside, devastated, and say, I'm really sorry. Is there a way that we can just take some food back? Or she's not well. And he said, I'm happy to pay for everything and, we'll just move on. And they said, Mr. Mills, not only are you not paying for tonight, that's on us. Here is, the doggy bag that goes with the croissants and whatnot for the next day and the tetsuya, butter and all that type of stuff. But we've also pre-booked you the next one for you rather than having to wait 6 months. He goes, Con, do you know how many people I've told that story to? So I'm looking at that going, the simplest things have the biggest payback, and sometimes just being a great human being is all you need to do to be able to get ahead.